Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official Bracketology update. What is this, 6.0 maybe, 7.0, something like that? I'm already losing track of it, and we haven't even reached March. But guys, we're going to take a look at the bracket matrix and then look at all the analytics and then the actual bracket like I always do when I do these updates. How about Purdue? You know what's crazy about Purdue? They were ranked number 3 overall last night, going up against an unranked Maryland team. So it was the number 3 ranked team in the country going up against an unranked team, and they were 1-point underdogs, and they ended up losing by 14 to Maryland. So Purdue right now, like it says it, they're on the 1 line, but when this updates, they're going to be right on the fringe, possibly drop down to a 2. They still have a really good record, but the metrics do not like Purdue. They've played a lot of close games. They rely on one singular player. We will see what happens for Purdue. It's very important they get a number 1 seed, even if it's that 4th number 1 seed. Alabama, a unanimous number 1. Even after the loss to Tennessee, they're still a number 1 for sure. There's no shame in losing on the road at Tennessee. Houston is a clear number 1. They're basically unanimous. And then Kansas at this point, basically unanimous as well. They've turned it on the past few weeks to, they were kind of a 1 or a 2. Now they're a clear 1. You've got Texas maybe as a team that might jump Purdue. If Purdue keeps struggling and losing these games, they maybe make a jump. UCLA, a very solid 2 right now. Baylor's been great in the second half of the year. They're a 2. And then Arizona also in the Pac-12. Of course, the Pac-12 has a lot of easy games, so UCLA and Arizona really buffering their records with some easy conference games. You've got Tennessee on the 3 line. They're trending way up. They got that huge win against Alabama. They play amazing defense and they really control the tempo. Virginia as a clear 3, actually maybe sniffing the 2 line at this point. Marquette, really amazing offense. They're a 3. And Kansas State, they've been consistent in a very tough conference. They are a 3. Gonzaga, the best offense in college basketball, sitting at the top of the 4 line, although there are a number of brackets that have them as a 3. Xavier as a 4, UConn as a 4. The analytics love UConn. Iowa State as a 4. Indiana sitting on the 5 line. I saw someone last week have Indiana as a 1 seed, which is just crazy. Of course, Indiana had that big win on Saturday night in Michigan to where, Michigan was leading that entire game. Indiana ends up winning. I believe they won. Next, we have Miami as a 5 seed. We'll see with Miami. I don't believe in them because the ACC is really bad. St. Mary's, the analytics love St. Mary's. They're sitting on the 5 line right now. They won last night in a really close game. It wasn't a great game for St. Mary's last night. TCU sitting right on that 5 line. Creighton and San Diego State both loved by KenPom, by T-Rank. San Diego State scored 45 points 2 nights ago and somehow won. They won 45-43 against Fresno State. What is the over-under in that game? 90? Illinois is a 6 seed. Rutgers, great on defense. They're a 6 seed, but they're trending down right now for sure. Staggering in between. Look at this. One bracket has Rutgers as a 10 seed. That's just disrespectful. Come on. Iowa is a 7 seed. They beat Ohio State last night. Michigan State sitting on the 7 line. You've got Duke as a 7 seed, stabilizing after a really bad loss about a week ago. Northwestern on the 7 line as well. They, of course, upset Purdue on Sunday. I think that was the day of the Super Bowl. Or what? Yeah, that was like right before the Super Bowl started. And so Northwestern is trending up. Missouri, Providence, Maryland, Auburn, all 8 seeds. NC State, FAU. FAU lost again last night. It'll be interesting. They're probably going to drop to at least a 10, maybe even an 11. Arkansas, Oklahoma State as 9 seeds, Nevada on the 10 line. How about Boise State? The Mountain West is pretty good this year. We've got Pittsburgh and West Virginia, and then teams entrenched on the bubble. Memphis A&M look pretty good. They're appearing in about 95% of brackets. North Carolina is at about 60%. Mississippi State probably in the play-in. Kentucky in the play-in. USC is in the play-in as well. Oral Roberts, all they do is win. They're a fun offense. They're sitting as a 12 seed. Charleston, a 12 seed. Southern Miss, I think they still only have 4 losses. Liberty is loved by the analytical crowd. Virginia Commonwealth as a 13 seed. How does that work? VCU from the A10? Kent State, Drake, Utah Valley. I thought these were all auto bids. They have VCU winning the A10? That doesn't make any sense. Yale, UC Santa Barbara, Iona, Furman, Colgate, Eastern Washington, Vermont, Youngstown State. How about Northwestern State possibly in the tournament? UNC Asheville, Morehead State, Howard, Fairleigh Dickinson, and Alcorn State. And then here's other teams that are really entrenched on the bubble. New Mexico, they've really hit a bit of a tailspin. They just lost a real bad game a few days ago. Wisconsin, I don't think they're making it. Clemson, I don't think they're making it. Oregon, I don't think they're making it. Utah State, maybe if they go on a run. Arizona State, it's just the Pac-12 is too bad. Seton Hall and West Virginia as well. So, wow, I guess Dayton is really not that good this year. If they're picking VCU to come out of the A10 over Dayton. The A10 is horrible this year. Wow. You do not see the A10 automatic qualifier be a 13 seed very often. Marshall, Akron. All right, these are just random, auto qualifiers. We'll see. Ryder maybe from the Metro Atlantic. The Metro Atlantic has got to be every single year the most average conference. Well, I mean, it's worse than average, but it's just the mosh pit. Let's take a look at the T-rank. Houston holding down the number 1 overall spot, top 10 in both offensive and defensive efficiency. Alabama sitting at number 2. Tennessee right behind Bama. You could make the argument that Tennessee, because they beat Alabama, should be in front of them, but it is important to note Alabama was playing on the road. That was not a neutral site game. UCLA at number 4, they've run up a 13-2 record in a bad conference. St. Mary's still at number 5, West Coast Conference, they're 12-1. They have the number 3 adjusted defensive efficiency in college basketball. Purdue is at number 6, so things are starting to level off for Purdue to where their overall record is getting worse, but the analytics are starting to align because, they were ranked number 1 and they were 6th. They're still number 6, but now they're probably a 4 or 5 in terms of the AP poll. UConn at number 7. How about they're number 7 in the country. I know this is analytics. 8-7 in conference play. Pretty crazy. Arizona at number 8. Baylor at number 9. They've had 9-4 in the Big 12 is very impressive. San Diego State at number 10. I'm concerned about San Diego State's offense. Kansas at number 11. So once again, a lot of the models saying that Kansas has gotten rather lucky this year. We know how hard it is to repeat in terms of winning the national championship. Creighton at number 12. They've really turned it on in conference play. Gonzaga, the number 1 overall offense in college basketball. The defense is really lagging. Iowa State at 14. Texas at 15. Marquette at 16. Auburn, that's very impressive for Auburn considering where they are in terms of seeding. Texas A&M all the way up to 18. They're 11-2 in the SEC. Texas A&M kind of has had an interesting season. They get ranked in the preseason poll. They struggle, and now they've turned it back on. Virginia at number 19. Oklahoma State 20. Kansas State 21. TCU. West Virginia. Xavier, who's got a really good offense. And then Arkansas Boise State at 26. Rutgers is falling back to 27. Michigan State's playing good basketball. They're up to number 28. Memphis is kind of held strong right around number 30. Same with Indiana at 18-8 in conference. Maryland now up to 31. They got a great boost after beating Purdue last night. That's a major quad one home win. Providence at 32. Miami all the way down to 33. NC State at 34. Illinois down to 35. Utah State at 36. There's Liberty. A lot of, analytics love Liberty over Iowa. I don't know about that. You've got Northwestern at 39 and Duke at 40. And Cincinnati, did Cincinnati lose? Wow. I didn't realize Cincinnati lost that game 2 days ago because they were 17-9 and Cincinnati was playing really good basketball. That's a bad loss for them. North Carolina at 42, Utah at 43, Nevada. There's Florida Atlantic after that loss last night. They are 24-3. Oregon, Texas Tech, Missouri, USC, and Mississippi State round it out. North Texas, I think they have the slowest tempo in college, but yeah, they do. That's what that means. This column is tempo, so North Texas plays the slowest tempo, but they are 22-5. There's Kentucky, Penn State, Michigan, rounding it out right there. So let's go to the KenPom rankings. The thing I like to look at here is, obviously you've got Houston, Bama, UCLA, Tennessee. How about UConn at number 5? St. Mary's sitting at 8. Kansas is at number 7. But the real thing to look at is the overall luck rating. Who are the teams that are getting lucky this year? Looks like Alabama still, 41st. You've got Kansas, they've been rather lucky. Baylor, Arizona, both getting lucky. Gonzaga and Virginia, just looking to see if anything else sticks out on here. They've got Michigan State 31, Iowa 32, North Carolina 35. Similar rankings, they've got Kentucky up to 40, Northwestern at 45, Florida at 46. How about Oregon at 15-12 at 44? Penn State. I think Penn State's had some rotten luck this year. They're at 281. Michigan's had some bad luck. Well, they're 14-12. I guess it makes sense. But that is pretty much it. How about Ohio State in front of Oral Roberts? Guys, Ohio State, they're horrible. They really are. Does anyone think Ohio State, what are they? Are they on the bubble in the NIT maybe? Maybe they make the NIT, but I actually think they're going to miss the NIT. I mean, they're 11-15, but they're somehow ranked above Seton Hall and some of these teams like New Mexico. I guess because New Mexico has lost games. Like, look how low Clemson is. It's because they play in the ACC. And, I guess they've gotten a little bit lucky. Their strength of schedule is outside the top 100. That is terrible for a Power 5 team. How is your strength of schedule outside the top 100? And then let's take a look at the bracketology. It's so annoying that they don't have team logos on here. It's just like you think they would add it. It just makes it look better. Looking at this is very boring without the logos, personally. But you've got Alabama as a number 1 overall seed taking on NC State or Oklahoma State. I think that's a good draw for Bama for sure. Houston taking on Rutgers or A&M. Imagine Houston versus Rutgers. The over-under would be under 100. But that's actually, if I'm Houston, I would much rather face NC State or Oklahoma State. Who do they have as the number 1 overall seed? Bama still? This is updated? They have Clemson in the tournament? You got to be kidding me. So I guess they still do have them. Some of the teams, the last 4 byes, you can take a look at that. Kentucky, North Carolina getting in, Wisconsin getting in, wow, over Mississippi State, over USC, over Charleston. But just kind of some overall things there. They've got San Diego State as a 7 seed. That's way too low for me. That is way too low. I know San Diego State struggles at offense, but as a 7 seed, you got to at least bump them to like a 5. If I was Baylor, I would not be happy with that. Texas facing Boise State or Providence. I think Texas is a weak 2 seed, especially with an interim coach. I know he's been good, but Purdue taking on Auburn or Pittsburgh. I think you got to be pretty happy about that. Honestly, I think Auburn could beat Purdue, though. Just Purdue's a week 1 seed. Kansas taking on Missouri or Duke. You probably want to avoid Duke just because it's annoying if you're Kansas. But, I mean, Duke's not that great this year. They're going to have great freshman talent, though. Arizona taking on MSU or Florida Atlantic. Yeah, I mean, if I'm Arizona, I probably want to avoid Izzo. And then UCLA taking on Maryland or Nevada. That's a very good draw for UCLA. I know Maryland just won against Purdue, but they're very streaky. And they still do have the Big Ten with the most teams in, even though the Big 12 overall, is a way better conference this year. So that's interesting. But either way, guys, that is just the latest edition of my Bracketology updates. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.